No, to be fair with yours, I don't normally need to. But
just so in sync.
We are just so in sync. We're a beautiful pair, Jamie. It's lovely. I like hearing your voice again.
I wonder how many hours we spent talking to each other in the last 2.5 years.
And not enough, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree.
Aw. That's nice.
That's wholesome, isn't it?
I like us.
Give me your intro.
It is. It is going to be. That is going to be the intro this week. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Episode 139 of your favourite Formula 1 show. It's been a bit of spontaneous intro, but we're rolling with it. Jamie183, apparently, he's happy to have heard my voice over the last few years. And if that isn't a wholesome way to kickstart today, I don't know what is. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm good. I'm all the better for hearing you.
Thank you. And I'm all the better for hearing you as well. I cannot wait to spend another Monday, yes, we record on a Monday, talking to you about Formula 1, a sport that we both love so much. But
indeed,
before we do that, we have to give you all a gentle reminder, because apparently this is a very calm and relaxed show this week.
Everyone's going to fall asleep if they don't anyway.
This is like our version of ASMR. If you're watching this on the Matt212 YouTube channel, there'll be a link down in the description below, because Knowing Wheel is going live on its own channel for 2024. Jamie, how many subscribers are you up to? My beautiful... I'm sure you've gained subs, because your voice is so smooth.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't blame people for subscribing to my channel right now. Let's have a look. I always forget to get... I'm on 545.
You're doing well, my friend.
I'm gaining.
You are
All you
gaining.
Have to do, it's like quantum physics. If I don't look at my channel, it goes down. If I look at my channel, it goes up.
You've got an infinite money glitch there, my friend.
Exactly.
So we are on 236, so we're 309 subscribers away from Jamie183. So go drop us a sub. It would be greatly appreciated down in the description below. But of course, the Qatar Grand Prix this weekend. We've got a fair bit to talk about, haven't we, Jamie?
Yeah, as of the last 10 minutes.
We timed this well.
Yes, we did, because, well, should we start with that? It's hot off the press, quite literally. So we'll start with the news, which is breaking news as we record, that Andretti have got through the next hoop of trying to get into Formula 1.
Yes.
So they're not in yet, but they can now talk to FOM. So they've been approved by the FIA, which is the body that runs Formula 1, but FOM are like Formula 1 management, which is like a step down, isn't it, really?
Well, FIA basically allow them to say, yes, you can... You now have a race team that can potentially race in our series. The FOM, of course, or, you can effectively now race in the series that you want to. But, of course, the FOM decide whether you're racing in Formula 1 or not.
Yes, yeah. So it's a good step for Andretti. It's a good step for Formula 1, in my opinion, because I think having an 11th team would help out certainly Liam Lawson right now. Yeah, so I think it's positive all around, to be honest. It's quite well known that the next step, though, with FOM is generally the hardest one.
Yes.
So it's no done deal yet, but it's a good sign, and hopefully they do get through all of the tests, all of the qualifications, and they are able to enter maybe for 24, but probably more realistically 25 now, isn't it?
I don't believe 24's ever been the goal, to be fair. No, it's either going to be 25 or 26, isn't it, for Andretti? But I'll be honest, it kind of felt like this all came about at the start of the year, didn't it? Or last year, really. Then obviously we had all the stuff about how they were going to collaborate with Cadillac, and we were there like, this is going to happen. And then, of course, effectively, it felt like for a long time this year, hasn't it, that it kind of got pushed away again and it wasn't going to happen. So it kind of feels like it has come a little bit out of nowhere as well. A quick side note to that. Did you hear about Carlin's proposal that got rejected?
Rodin.
Yes,
Rodin
sorry.
Carlin,
yeah.
I did. New Zealand. They're going to build cars in New Zealand. They're obviously racing F2 right now. So, their plan was to enter, wasn't it? And then enter with one seat has to be a female driver.
Well, Jamie Chadwick apparently was guaranteed a drive.
Yeah, so I guess at first it would be Jamie Chadwick, and then for as long as she wanted it, and then maybe if another female driver came along better, then they would give it to her.
Them.
Put the second. Yeah. So it would have been a very interesting concept. I don't think it's the right way personally to go about it, because drivers should get to F1 if they're good enough, not based on other factors. Obviously, the way to do that is make the pathway to Formula One easier for women and girls to get involved in. Which they kind of have done with F1 Academy to some extent, but it still needs a lot of work, I think.
I think this is the thing, isn't it? Of course, we're now at this horrible stage where the groundwork is there, isn't it? You've got the Formula Academy. Of course, that provides them with a stepping stone. Of course, the only difficult thing is now you're kind of in this weird scenario where, don't get me wrong, a lot of the Formula Academy drivers, much, we always have to preface this by saying, of course, they're a million times better than we could ever be. And I understand for some people, that are very, very passionate about obviously getting female drivers into Formula One, that two white blokes sat here in chairs chatting about it looks ridiculous. We are not suggesting for a second that we could even come close to the talent that some of these females have. But of course, the problem is, it's highly unlikely any of the ones currently racing will make it to Formula One, but you just hope it's for the next generation. It's for girls that are being born now. Of course, we'll have these drivers to look to, and then obviously, hopefully in the future, Formula One drivers, female Formula One drivers obviously to look to, because it is going to take years of investment before we get any kind of payoff.
For sure. And I think you kind of see that with nationalities racing in Formula One a little bit to a smaller degree, because you look at Schumacher started breaking onto the scene in the late 90s, early 2000s was his big dominant period, and then in 2010 there were 7 German drivers on the grid, 10 years later, because all these German kids growing up watching F1 seeing this guy Schumacher, he's amazing, I need to be in Formula One, I want to be like him. And then you see it now, we've got effectively 4 British drivers on the grid. 10 years
Britain's always an odd example, isn't it?
Yeah, Britain is a strange example, but it goes in ebbs and flows. And 10-12 years ago, you had Button, Hamilton winning championships, breaking onto the scene, giving people an example to look to. I genuinely think in 10 years' time, we'll probably have 3 or 4 Dutch drivers on the grid, just because that's the way it goes. And I think you kind of need that role model to be a real trailblazer, and people to grow up wanting to be like them. And hopefully that will happen with other minorities, like unrepresented groups in Formula One as well. But women is definitely one of those that is underrepresented in the grid. But I don't think giving somebody a seat based on that is necessarily the right way to go about it.
No, and I think, this was the other point I know a lot of people have made, of course, as much as I think I'm a big fan of Jamie Chadwick, she's a fantastic racing driver, but she's not Formula One material. She struggled in the IndyCar and NXT series, I think it's called. And that's like their version of Formula 2 over there. She's really struggled in that this year. Has been getting better and better. But, the last thing I think we really want either, of course, is, especially for a team like Rodin that potentially come in, instantly, if you feel like you've got one hand tied behind your back. I mean, we saw that with Haas, didn't we, for 2021 with Mazepin. Obviously, you're instantly on a bit of a back foot, and of course, yes, it's great for marketing, but you need to have 2 people that are up to F1 caliber, and at the moment, it still feels like we haven't got a female driver that's there yet.
Yeah, which is a shame. Although Jessica Hawkins did the test for Aston Martin, didn't she?
Yes.
And there's definitely positive signs, I think, but
we're getting there slowly but surely, aren't we?
Yeah, it's the groundwork we're laying at the minute, and you kind of have to be patient and wait, which is a shame for the current crop of drivers, but in the future, hopefully they'll see their fruits.
I'm willing to suggest by 2035 there will have been a female Formula One driver.
I would back that. I don't think we'll be recording this podcast in 2035.
Who knows, Jamie? Who knows? We kind of went very off topic there very quickly, didn't we? From Andretti. But of course, all good news hopefully around. It's no guarantee yet, but I think sensibly there wouldn't be this much of a big deal around it if it didn't feel like it was the right time. Of course, that's also coming quite nicely, hasn't it? With some big announcement for the rule changes in 2026. 30 kilos of the fuel is going to be used to recharge the batteries. The car's width has been reduced from 2 meters to 1.9. The car's wheelbase has been reduced, I think, from 360 down to 340 mil. and downforce has been reduced by 40%. And Jamie, quickly, you impressed? I remembered all those numbers.
I am very impressed. I did switch off halfway through those numbers, but in layman's terms, they're making the cars smaller and easier to follow, and hopefully less grippy and more able to overtake each other without the need for DRS.
Yes, which is always a good thing. The downforce, I'm sure a lot of that will be reclawed. What I'm interested in is, of course, the fact that 30 kilos of fuel is going to be used to recharge the battery. When, Jamie, please, can we go to biofuel?
It's true. It's very true. I think, they're obviously well down the path of using these hybrid electric with an ICU.
ICU.
Yeah, same thing. They're obviously far down the path now. They probably want to see it through until they can do another major change, which I think this is slightly too soon for. Although it will have been almost 10 years since the... No, it has been 10 years now.
10 years next, in a few months.
The hybrid era. Wow.
We're old, aren't we? It's sad, isn't it? I still, perhaps it's the opium inside me, but I just still want to believe that synthetic fuel is the way to go in the future, because that would allow us to have V10 Formula 1 cars again, and that would be magical.
Or hydrogen fuel cells. Someone work that out.
Hydrogen fuel cells, yeah, exactly, is another big one, isn't it? But probably a bit too dangerous for motorsport, just because they tend to go bang quite easily.
Yeah, they would explode very rapidly in contact.
Not ideal.
No. But shall we get on to... Well, we've got a race coming up. It is a race week as we start this week, and it's race week, and it could be for one driver a championship.
Well, could be is a bit pessimistic. It's going to be, isn't it? Sensibly,
it realistically will be, because even if Max Verstappen doesn't score any points in the sprint or the real race, I think Perez would still need to win both, and based on his current form alone, that doesn't look like happening.
No.
So realistically, Verstappen will win the title this weekend, and it will realistically also be on Saturday, which is quite funny. First ever sprint champion. We love that.
He can't win a title legitimately, can he? That's the problem.
Well, maybe it's his third one, but who's keeping count? But he said in a Japanese press conference, would he feel bad about winning a title on a Saturday? And he was like, no.
Why would he?
We can have a good time on Saturday night, and then maybe the reaction time is a little bit off on Sunday.
Fair play. But, he's got a struggling Qatar. They don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It's a very alcohol-free country. I'm sure they can probably find some private bars somewhere. But
you couldn't for the World Cup, could you?
No, you couldn't actually, could you? Well, maybe
they're properly on it.
They'll need to jet off somewhere, won't they? But yeah, he's going to win a title. That's good news for any Verstappen fans. I kind of want him to just do the last to first challenge for the remainder of the races.
I would love to see him attempt it, to be honest.
I don't think it would kind of ruin the credibility of the other 9 teams, wouldn't it, if Red Bull just started messing around. So I don't think they'll do that. But I hope we kind of saw Lewis Hamilton quite often and Sebastian Vettel almost take their foot off the gas a little bit once they won a title.
I would say Lewis tended to a bit more. I wouldn't say Seb did.
It took Lewis until 2018 to win a race after he won the title.
In the same season?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm thinking Seb didn't really, did he?
Well, 2 of them were at the last race.
Exactly.
And the other one, 2011, he did a little bit.
Yeah. 2013 he didn't.
No, he absolutely didn't. But everyone had given up, ready for the hybrid era at that point, hadn't they? So,
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't believe Max is either a driver, as we saw last year, really a driver to give up either, is he? Still obviously took out Lewis in Brazil for the sake of it.
Lewis turned in, shouldn't he?
I'm waiting for that one guy who comments every week calling me a salty fan to give me that comment again. He would be right. I don't even try to argue it either. But yeah, so for those of you that aren't aware, championship permutations, Max needs P4 in the sprint to win.
Based on Perez winning.
If Perez wins. And he needs 5 points from the Grand Prix, and therefore Perez needs to score maximum points. Well, he has to win at least on Sunday and finish P3 on Saturday if Max didn't score at all. And as Jamie said, with Perez's progress, that's not going to happen anyway. So we congratulate Max Verstappen on his 3rd World Championship.
Yes,
well
we do.
done for doing it in a sprint race.
Yeah.
Now win
Well
the
done.
next one on track normally, please, in a Grand Prix Sunday.
Well, he won 2021 in a fully fair fashion, so I just want to put that dig in there. Why not?
Yeah, and I just stick that knife in my back. I said I liked hearing your voice at the start of this show. I was that quickly
it's gone
deteriorated.
downhill very fast, hasn't it?
Yes.
But we'll get on to our main topic for today, and that's because, as we said, the main championship, obviously the constructors is wrapped up in Japan. The drivers is about to be wrapped up in Qatar. So we will instead kind of look down the table and see what's going on there. So we kind of got a few little ones to pull out and be like, well, you know, who's going to win out of these two or these three drivers or teams. So starting off, Mercedes versus Ferrari for P2 in the constructors. Currently, it's 305 to Mercedes and 285 to Ferrari. What do we think?
I am getting nervous. Not just because I'm a Mercedes fan, but getting nervous because after we had all these conversations, it's another team we'll discuss in a minute, after we had all these conversations early on this season about how, well, at least behind Red Bull there's been quite a big shuffle up, it's looking like most teams are going to finish where they did last year anyway, which is not fantastic. Ferrari have really come on strong late on in the season, haven't they? They've been the only team that's been able to hold a candle to Red Bull on Saturday. Obviously, they're going to be the only team that wins a race outside of Red Bull this year.
Don't give up hope yet. You never know.
Jamie, we do know, though, don't we?
Win 33 for Alonso.
I'll behave. Aston Martin are lucky to score points by the end of the year with the way they're going at the moment. But I think Mercedes, 20-point advantage still with how well both teams are going at the moment is not a lot because Ferrari are going a lot better than Mercedes. But this is also Ferrari under pressure. And last year, of course, we spoke about how we honestly thought at one point the Mercedes was still going to beat Ferrari, despite having a much worse car throughout most of the year. Only Ferrari could be in a battle for the championship and still just finish third. So I am going to go out on a limb and still say Mercedes cover them off.
I want to say Ferrari, and I will say Ferrari.
Okay, interesting.
I think Carlos Sainz has woken up on the right side of the bed since the summer break, and he's built different. And Leclerc is still very fast on a Saturday. So, yeah, why not? I think Ferrari will turn over that 20 points.
Fair enough. I mean, it's an interesting one. I think hopefully it's going to be one that goes down to the wire, because at least then it will give people give us something to talk about still on the show, won't it? But I think probably the most interesting one, which on paper sounds completely far-fetched, it's got to be McLaren versus Aston Martin, isn't it? A 49-point lead for Aston Martin, but they very easily, after having a fantastic recovery, they finished joint 6th, technically 7th last year. No, they were 1 point back, weren't they? No, it was tied. I think it was tied at the end of last year. Bottas got it on count back, didn't he? They did finish 7th. And of course, this year they're like, Aston Martin, they've proved it. They can finish runner-up. And I think they're going to finish 5th. Because a 49-point lead sounds like a lot, especially when you can't win. But McLaren have scored more than that in the last 2 Grand Prix.
I just think Aston Martin, they kind of need one or two races where they score more points than McLaren.
Where's that going to happen?
Season. Well, McLaren could just have a shocking day. I suppose it's I don't know. Because Norris is on the podium more often than not at the minute, isn't he?
Well, I think the thing is, isn't it? When you look at since Silverstone and that upgrade, even at Hungary, McLaren thought they would be bad. Norris still got podium. Belgium, pretty much since that upgrade came in Austria, has been the only Grand Prix where they weren't probably second favourite.
Netherlands, they weren't.
No, sorry, I had forgot about the Netherlands as well.
Monza. And at each of those races, in
Ferrari, I forget about.
Yeah.
But there's been none of those races where they've looked worse than Aston.
49 points in 6 races, so they have to outscore them by
7 points a race. 8 points, Bearing in mind sprints as well.
That's incredibly doable.
You got 3 sprints in that time.
For Aston Martin.
And like I said, McLaren have scored more. McLaren, so that deficit has more than halved in the last 2 Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It was over 100 points
I think
2 races ago.
And go both for McLaren. Maybe I will.
Staggering, isn't it? And Alonso, He's going into the cycle, isn't he, again, where he's blaming the team on the radio. It's not looking good.
Yeah. One more go at Renault, I reckon.
One more. It's all he needs, isn't it? Alpine have looked so good this year.
Yeah.
One more go back at Renault again before he calls it a career. Maybe he'll go back to McLaren as well. Or
Minardi.
Minardi. Go back to AlphaTauri, me. I think it's alarming, isn't it? But they really do look like they're falling off drastically, and it's not been helped, of course, because I saw an interesting theory actually today, Jamie.
What was
Alonso, when you look back throughout his recent career moves in Formula One, yes, has gone to a team that's been on the up and up, and no one mind not trying to defend Lance Stroll here, but often his teammate has struggled more in the car as well. Is Alonso just really bad at developing a car? Can he not provide the good feedback that everyone hypes him up for? It's an interesting one, isn't it?
I just think Alonso takes his teammates to the cleaners every time, which is why they look like they do bad.
But is that partly due to the fact he develops a car only around himself and then also takes it the wrong way?
But Max does that, but he takes it the right way, I suppose.
There's a big difference there, yeah.
I don't know. I think, Aston's development has really not been on point at all. And to be fair to Force India, they used to be quite good at developing the car. Mainly because they used to turn up with last season's car quite often, and then only put the current season's car in like Austria or something like that back in the hybrid era. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't want to drag Alonso's name in the mud because I think he's a very capable driver.
He's a capable driver, but he's not a team player. You can't argue that.
Maybe not.
Fair enough. Well, we'll leave it at that then. And our third team rivalry is Haas versus Alfa Romeo, isn't it? Probably, is going to require...
exciting.
12 points to 10. I mean, to be fair, I'm surprised. I'm going to throw AlphaTauri into that as well. 5 points now. AlphaTauri, they made Q3 again in Japan. They seem to have brought some upgrades more recently. They've kind of gone under the radar, didn't they? I think they brought 9 upgrades to Singapore, and that car has been a lot more competitive since then.
It has been a little bit, because I guess, Tsunoda was very unlucky to obviously get blocked in Q2 and then taken out in lap 1 in Singapore by both Red Bulls. And Lawson did get P9, didn't he? And it's only, 7 points to Haas, 5 to Alfa Romeo.
All you need is one Williams-esque result where you get a 7th or a 6th. And you're right there, instantly.
Yeah. I just think the Williams is obviously it's got one specialty as a car, which is a straight line speed. It's very, very hard to overtake.
The Williams are just basically looking at Vegas now.
Yeah, the other 3 cars are a bit too generic.
They're just poor race cars, aren't they?
They're just like the Alpine or the McLaren or the Aston Martin, but a bit worse. So there's no special circumstance, apart from a crazy race, where they're going to outperform Alpine and McLaren by default.
Or Aston Martin now.
Could. Yeah, even. So I just think it will probably stay as it is, to be honest, especially as Haas have this B-spec car supposedly coming in.
I'm looking forward to it. Every B-spec car this year has been mega, except for the Mercedes.
Yeah, it's true. But then Mercedes always hype up their B-specs, don't they? So, I think it will stay in the current order that it is, which is very boring. But we can hope that
very boring.
Hulkenberg can score points more than once in a Grand Prix this season. It'd be quite nice.
Is he still only scored in one Grand Prix?
He scored a 7th in Australia and a 6th in the Austria Sprint.
Nice.
And then, the rest of the time, nil points.
Shocking driver.
Is a very shame. But he's still being his teammate. So
yeah, but Magnussen's had another kid, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So 9 months after he got pole in Brazil, funnily enough. Perez versus Hamilton then, Jamie. We're going to move it over to the drivers. 33 points there, and I think, to be honest, if you told me this before Japan, I would have absolutely just said, well, it's going to be Perez, isn't it? But the way he's driving at the moment is catastrophic.
It is. I think he'll pencil Japan down as a bad weekend and go again quite comfortably.
I hope he would.
Yeah, because obviously the Red Bull was well off the pace in Singapore, and then he had an absolute shocker in Japan. But to be fair to Perez, he's been on the podium as often as he's not been on the podium in clean races this season. So as long as he
that's not good in a dominant car, Jamie.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough. But I think he will hold on to second place because Hamilton's Mercedes doesn't look like getting podiums that often. to be honest. And if Perez can just, what is it, 33 points,
yeah.
I don't
5 points a week is optimistic, isn't it? Even with 3 sprint races. Yeah, I think Perez is gonna. I reckon that gap will be smaller than it is now by the end of the season, but I think Perez will hang on.
Just about, I think.
Alonso versus Sainz, 24 points between them, and it's gone from the Spaniard that's cooking to the other Spaniard that's now cooking, isn't it?
Yes, and as I said, Sainz has been unreal since the summer break. More often than not, faster than Leclerc, and I really back him for getting P4 in the championship. The only driver to win a race who's not driving a Red Bull this season. So, yeah, I think Sainz will do it. 24 points when the Aston Martin is probably 5th or 6th fastest versus the 2nd fastest Ferrari, you would argue. Yeah, I think it's a done deal. Announce Sainz P4.
Well, he's got to take 4 points out of him a week, isn't it? And Alonso might pick up 1 or 2 here or there anymore, but I don't think Aston Martin are really threatening, are they?
He took 25 out of him in Singapore, so...
No, Alonso. Sorry, he's taking 1 or 2 points a weekend.
Yeah.
Madness, isn't it? Probably a battle I don't think any of us were really expecting until very recently. Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, George Russell. Norris-Russell tied on 115 apiece. Leclerc, I could argue, is still probably battling, his sights are on Alonso in front. Mm-hmm. But he's been struggling more and more. Norris has been on fire, and the fact he's already ahead of Russell goes to say just how mediocre a season Russell's had.
Yes. Yeah, Russell's just still on the 1 podium, which is quite mad.
That is insane.
Yeah,
but then again, Sainz has only had 1, hasn't he, I think? No, 2.
No, he's had 2 now, yeah. Yeah, I think Leclerc will probably win out of the 3 of them.
Okay.
But I think Norris will be a lot closer to Charles Leclerc than he is now, and I think Russell will stay 8th. I just think he's not had a good season at all.
7th, do you mean?
No, he's 8th, Russell.
Is he 8th?
Yeah, this is 6th, 7th, 8th.
It is, isn't it? Is it?
Yeah,
you sure? Yeah, it is. That's mad. That is mad.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, really, really poor season for Russell.
I'm going to go on the contrary to you, Jamie, though, slightly. I'm going to say Norris is going to win out this.
I mean, he could. 20 points.
We're going to have 6 drivers from 5 different teams inside the top 6 by the end of the year, I'm calling.
Yeah. And then we just wait for Perez to get disqualified from the championship.
Or Max.
I doubt that'll happen, but there we go. don't know why Perez will get disqualified either, but there we go.
No, exactly. And I mean, our final one then that you've wrote down, Stroll, Gasly, Ocon. In such a, how on earth Lance Stroll is still on? He was on less than half the points. Where's Piastri actually?
Piastri is well clear. Actually, he's not well clear. He's 10 points ahead of Stroll.
Oh, he's going to lock that down, isn't he? The fact that Piastri's been unlucky this season, it's felt more like Stroll's just been poo again, hasn't it?
Stroll has had since Miami.
He's scored like 12 points, hasn't he? It's ridiculous.
He's got a 6th, 3 9ths, and a 10th.
Oh!
Since Miami. So what's that? 8?
13. No, 15.
Yeah, 15 points.
In what, 12 races?
5, yeah.
Deary me.
I saw a video from Tomo, friend of the show. No, not well.
I've met him a couple of times. I've had a few drinks with Tomo in my day.
Friend of the show. There you go. Who has done a video like, what if Aston Martin had 2 Fernando Alonsos? What if they had 2 Lance Strolls? If they had 2 Alonsos, they would be P2 in the constructors quite easily.
Yep.
If they had 2 Strolls, they would be level with Alpine.
Oh. And you'd never believe that Aston Martin could fight, was Red Bull's biggest threat at the start of the year. It is shocking, isn't it? I've noticed you put on the notes, does 13th down score points again?
Yeah, what do you think? This is all of the drivers who race for Williams, Haas, Alfa Romeo, or Aston Martin. Nope, not Aston Martin. AlphaTauri, yeah.
Yes, I say Albon, Vegas.
I think yes as well.
I'm going to go on a limb. Sargent scores a point somewhere.
No way.
Get it clipped.
Not a chance.
Get it clipped. Sargent, I'm going to say he scores a point somewhere.
Albon will score points. I back Hulk to get
You're going to say Hulk, yeah, there you are.
When they get the V-spec. Magnussen will probably snatch a point somewhere.
What you've got to remember, Jamie,
Losail
is
get points in Qatar too.
Haas are always rapid at tracks that begin with Ost. Hulk has scored points at tracks that begin with Ost this year, but there's no more tracks that begin with Ost.
There's no more tracks beginning with Ost. Well,
Yeah.
what about Austin?
No, we're not having that.
There you go. I'm having it.
Damn it. He's found a way through my system. That's shocking. Shocking. Do we want to do predictions or do you want to do your quiz, Jamie? We rattled through everything very quickly today.
I fancy quiz. I'm worried
Okay.
because you were explaining a little bit beforehand, and it sounds difficult.
So, Jamie, your quiz this week. Pretty simple, pretty fun.
Okay.
Of course, you changed it. You were a bit of a revolutionary. You changed up the theme last week, didn't you? Because it was no time pressure, but just some quick fire questions for me. Of course,
Indeed.
it was about each driver's first podium, and I think it was 16 out of 17 because I was genuinely impressed with myself for days after we did that.
Well done, you did.
So, Qatar, famously, Jamie, has hosted one Grand Prix so far, and it's time
You're
in
not going to ask me
Formula
that.
One.
It's only one race.
No, I'm not.
Okay, good.
Much better than that. And there's a few other tracks in Formula One's history that have only hosted one Grand Prix.
Oh, come on.
We're going to run through some of them, and you're going to tell me who won those races.
You better not start in 1950.
Do you want to start from 1950s, or do you want to start more recently?
Actually, screw it. Why not go reverse order?
We're going to start at the
Just
start,
rattle
are
through
we?
the first ones. Yeah.
Okay. So, Jamie, we kickstart then. The year is 1957. Pescara, one of the craziest tracks of all time in Formula One, longer than the Nordschleife, I believe.
Okay.
Who won the one and only Pescara Grand Prix in 1957?
I'm going to go on a limb and say it was Fangio.
It was not Fangio, unfortunately.
Was
You're 0 for 1.
Sterling Moss.
You're only allowed one guess. It was, in fact, Sterling Moss, though.
Oh, great.
If we move a year forward, we head to Morocco for the one and only Casablanca Grand Prix of 1958. Who do you think won this race?
Was it Fangio?
It was not Fangio. You're 0 for 2. You should have guessed Sterling Moss again.
Wow, he loves his one-off circuits.
He does. I mean, they were just scary tracks, and Sterling Moss obviously was a fantastic. I mean, not to say Fangio wasn't.
Fangio was pretty good as well this time.
He was, yeah. We head 1 year even further forward to a track that holds a special place in both of our hearts. It's 1959. It's the Avis Ring, Jamie.
Oh, I know this.
I bet you do.
I do know this. It's Tony Brooks.
It is Tony Brooks. I was
There
expecting
we
you to get
go.
that wrong then. He's got 1 on the board out of 3 so far. Formula 1 got a bit boring throughout the 60s, though, Jamie. From what my data could tell,
track, sorry.
there was one-time track in the 1960s, and that was the Le Mans Bugatti circuit of 1967.
Right.
Who was your winner?
I'm just going to try and guess a champion from around that time. John Surtees?
Incorrect.
Ugh.
I think you're thinking too early as well. I believe Surtees won. Was it 1959? Surtees won the World
good one.
Championship.
Denny Hume?
Incorrect.
I don't know.
You're getting closer, though.
Chris Armin? No, he never won, did he?
He never won a race, famously.
I have no idea.
Jack Brabham.
Oh, well, there you go. Right continent.
Oh, sorry, I forgot one from the 50s.
Oh, great. Well, that's easy.
1959. Formula 1. It's one and only Grand Prix at the airfield, otherwise known as Sebring, even.
Oh, they raced at Sebring.
They did race once at Sebring. 1959 was the year.
In a
You
6-hour
have.
enduro. I didn't get disqualified from that one either.
Impressive. For you.
59.
Yep. You're bearing in mind you're 1 in 4 so far.
Let's go. Sterling Moss.
Wrong. Bruce McLaren.
Bruce McLaren. Okay,
It might have been 19. No, I think it wasn't. Was it 59 or was it 69? Either way, you got it wrong. We're not allowing you the points.
What is this quiz? You need to avoid the whole thing.
Let me just double check. It was 1959. Because I'm scared now that I have got that right. No, it was 1959.
Okay,
yes.
good.
And it was won
Move
by
on.
Bruce McLaren. There was none that I could find in the 1970s, Jamie. So we head all the way to 1984, of course. Formula 1 had its first attempt at making strides in the US. Of course, we had 2 Caesars Palace Grand Prix, so that doesn't make the cut. But we did also get 1 Dallas Grand Prix at the Dallas Fairgrounds of
I feel like I should
1984.
know this. Was it Keke Rosberg?
It was Keke Rosberg. Yeah,
What
2
happened with
for
that?
6.
That's
Fair
quality.
play.
I was
Fair
going to say
play.
Nigel, but he fainted there, didn't he?
I believe that was actually Caesar's Palace, but you might be right. You might be right, actually.
Keke, that's a shout and a half.
Fair play to you. I'm impressed with that one. We then head almost a decade further forward, Jamie. Now, I might not have got every single track, but I got most of them. To Donington, 1993.
Oh, this is well, I know what happened on lap 1. I assume he won the race. Ayrton Senna?
It was Ayrton Senna, correct. I believe he lapped everyone up to second place.
He got, 5th to 1st in one lap?
5th to 1st in one lap, yes.
Rubens Barrichello
probably the greatest lap of all time. Yeah, I believe Rubens Barrichello was the only driver he didn't lap that day.
In the Jordan?
In the Jordan, exactly. Fantastic result. One of Senna's last ever Formula 1 victories as well. Famously, of course, they gave out a Sega statue with Sonic the Hedgehog on it. Trophy, not statue.
I didn't know that.
We then head quite a few years forward, actually, Jamie. Most tracks now. I considered lobbing in like the one Italian Grand Prix at Imola or the one Eiffel Grand Prix at the Nürburgring, but I thought, no, we won't do that. It's too easy for you.
Too easy.
But these last 4, I do actually believe you should be able to get all of them.
Okay.
The first 2 are Bahrain. The Sakir Endurance layout and the Sakir 2020 Outer layout, Jamie. I'm sure you can rattle those both off.
Sakir Enduro was Alonso.
It was.
Do you want 2nd and 3rd just to show off?
What's that, sorry?
Do you want 2nd and 3rd places?
I mean, it was Felipe Massa and I believe Sebastian Vettel, wasn't it? Was it Hamilton, was it?
Vettel 4th. Yes. And then, the Sakir Oval was Checo Perez when he used to be competent.
It was.
With Ocon and Stroll. So
correct.
You
don't get bonus points.
Mugello?
You got Mugello 2020
was Lewis Hamilton.
It was, and Albon's first podium, if I remember correctly. And the final one, Jamie, I'm going to ask you if you can remember it.
Qatar 21.
Correct.
Was it Lewis Hamilton?
It was Lewis Hamilton. Correct. So I think
Alonso's first podium as well.
It was, yeah. You got 6 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6 out of 11, Jamie. It's not bad going.
Happy with that.
Yeah,
Keke Rosberg was the turning point.
It really was. You got everything after Keke Rosberg, but nothing before him, which is a shame.
No, I got 1 before him. Allow it.
I don't think you did you?
I did.
You got Tony Brooks, to be fair. Sorry.
Yeah, my boy.
Yeah, so you got 7 actually. Sorry,
Rest
out of 11,
peace.
I believe. You only got 4 wrong, 2 of which were Sterling Moss.
Nice.
What are the scores on the doors heading into Qatar, Jamie? Because we've got extra points available, haven't we, in our little predictions?
I am 2 points ahead of you.
Which is fantastic, because it means I get to pick first.
I'm going to be boring. I'm just going to cover you off.
Please don't. It's 2 qualifyings, isn't it, this weekend?
Yes. Sprint quali on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, after normal qualifying on a Friday night, but then before a sprint race, but after normal Grand Prix. I don't know. We've got 2 qualifyings and 6 podiums to predict, haven't we? Max is
sprint winner.
Oh, we did just do sprint winner, didn't we? I believe actually.
Yeah.
Max. I'm gonna say Lando Norris. And I'm gonna say, I mean, surely Perez can't mess it up again. I'm gonna say Sergio Perez P3. It might be stupid, but I'm gonna say it.
I will go. What will I go? Qatar's a very normal circuit, isn't it? It'd be dumb to.
It's great fun to race on the F1 game.
It's a good circuit. Max Verstappen on pole. I might actually throw in a little Perez to win the sprint.
Really?
Verstappen to get 2nd place and win the title anyway, just because he gets a bad start or something. Yeah, why not? Perez wins the sprint. Sorry, what? I haven't done sprint pole yet, have I?
We didn't do sprint pole. You told me not to.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Perez wins the sprint race. Verstappen wins the real race. From... who was good in Japan? That's quite... No, it's not even that similar, is it? I'll go Norris, Sainz.
Fair enough.
Boys on the podium. That's so right. You're going to definitely be winning after this.
I hope so. But to be fair, I haven't got many points to try and close up, but we'll wait and see. Have we got anything else to add, Jamie? I think we've done a pretty good job today, haven't we? Of course, I guess the only little bit is Daniel Ricciardo obviously isn't coming back. Still Liam Lawson, isn't it, by the looks of it?
Yes. Yeah.
Jamie, as we started this so softly and so beautifully today, it was a very different intro to what we normally do. We're going to end it with some disruption because I'm going to allow you to do the outro.
The outro. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, we're going to be on our own channel in 2024. That's right.
Correct.
So yeah, go subscribe over there, and yeah, join Matt's new league that I saw on his YouTube channel. We'll be back next week to review the Qatar Grand Prix when Verstappen is inevitably world champion. So we look forward to that, and we'll see you around.